Time now for your business news. According to the South African Human Rights Commission, nearly 10 million South African consumers are over-indebted. Debt Rescue has also sent a warning that South Africans should brace themselves for tough economic times that lie ahead of them, especially in Gauteng. The cost of living is set to rise, with consumers faced with a number of price increases. Debt Rescue Head of Operations Annaline van Der Poel gave us some tips on how to survive under the current tough economic climate.
The most important thing for people is to do take a very hard look at their financial circumstances. Obviously, firstly, the best way is to go about is draw up a budget. Look at what you owe, look at what your income is, look at what you need for your living expenses, and start from there. Most important usually is to start by looking at your living expenses. Look where you are sitting with unnecessary expenses that you can possibly cut, etc., and get back as close as you can.
South Africans, we don't save. We know that South Africans don't save. So what's the use of talking about this? Isn't there something else we can do? Isn't there punitive steps we can take if people live above their means?
You know, Eben, yes, South Africans don't have a very high savings culture. About 75% of your income is going towards servicing debt. And the beauty of it is the fact that we've got this legislation, part of the National Credit Act, is that we have debt counselling as a solution. If you've already reached the point where you have that debt and there is nothing that you can do about it, and you are living, you've cut your living expenses already, to look at the solution, find help, go see a debt counsellor and help them restructure your debt for you.
Now, that's the one element. The other element, of course, is borrow more money. No. We shouldn't be borrowing more money, but we do. Shouldn't there be a cap on who should be on these kind of micro loans that we see and micro lenders that we see with ridiculous interest rates in the right? That's pretty much all over.
I think it's very important to understand that obviously the National Credit Act has very set guidelines if you become, how you become a registered credit provider, and then obviously what the caps are that you're allowed to charge, such as your interest rates, etc. And then going along with that are affordability assessments. Affordability assessments now being done by the credit providers are very crucial. They need to clearly check whether you can afford the debt that they want to grant to you.
How do you save? Give us advice. What percentage should we look from our earnings to put away for that rainy day, or is it a question of let's save whatever we can?
I think for most people it is save whatever you can. The guideline has always been try and save 10% of your net salary and try and put that to one side. But for the vast majority, that is an impossible factor, is putting such a percentage away. So, for some people it would be a question of putting 100 Rand away a month is going to have a huge potentially impact, firstly, whether you can afford it, and secondly, how you can apply it.
Now, with so much pressure on families and individuals, so much negative press, we see there's an interest rate hike coming, which is really going to hurt people who are in debt, especially those who have bonds and so forth. What's your advice to those people who are looking down the barrel of another interest rate hike on top of the electricity hikes, on petrol hikes and whatever else is coming?
I think the best advice I can give is if you are already sitting at that point where you are over-indebted and you cannot afford to repay the debt that you have, don't wait until you hit a point where legal action starts being taken. Rather take the positive step of finding help in the form of debt counselling and having your debt restructured. That's why the specialists are there at the end of the day. That's why Debt Rescue is specifically there to sit and assist consumers and make sure that we protect their assets and help them to still have money to be able to pay their essential living expenses each month.
Well, there you have some tips. Now,